Our devotion for today is taken from the Gospel of Luke, the 10th chapter, verses 25 through 37, the parable of the Good Samaritan. Just then, a lawyer stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he said, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said to him, "What is written in the law? What do you read there?" And he answered, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." Jesus said to him, "You have given the right answer. Do this, and you will live." But wanting to justify himself, he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell into the hands of robbers, who stripped him, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, while traveling, came near him. And when he saw him, he was moved with pity. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, having poured oil and wine on them. Then he put him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, 'Take care of him, and when I come back, I will repay you whatever you spend.' Now which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" He said, "The one who showed him mercy." Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." This parable that I chose today, the parable of the Good Samaritan, is an important parable for us to contemplate today. Really gets into this whole story of what does it mean to care for our neighbor. You'll notice that the parable starts off with a rather self-centered question. How do I inherit eternal life? What do I need to do to merit heaven? And Jesus really turns this question around on the person and really challenges them to think about caring for others, caring for your neighbor. And we have this text today. It's amazing what the Samaritan does. And you'll notice he uses a Samaritan because a Samaritan was the exact opposite that a good Jew would think Jesus would use in a story as the hero. This Samaritan goes way above and beyond to care for a person who is almost half dead, bringing them back to health. And Jesus lifts up a person that is the exact opposite of who the Jewish people, the leaders that are listening in on his story, would think Jesus would use. But in this story, he reminds all people, and especially us, to think about our neighbor, what it means to love our neighbor. And he even went way above and beyond and said, "Love your enemy, pray for those who persecute you." It's easy for us to help our loved ones. It's easy for us to help the people that are similar to us. It's easy for us to help our own side, our own team, our own party, our own tribe. But I think we have a challenge today to think about how do we care for all people around us, to put their needs before ourselves. And I know we're living in a time where we're sequestered, where we're kept to ourselves, but I think we need to hear this reminder again today. How do we help our neighbor? How do we be kind to those who are around us that are struggling, that are hurting, that need help? How do we be good to each other? Maybe it means staying home, and I hope you're doing that. Maybe it means putting on a mask that maybe makes us look a little silly. I'm not wearing one right now, but I do. And it's important to think about how we care for our neighbor. And maybe that's even making a donation. We have set up a special fund here at St. Matthew's called the COVID-19 Fund. I think it's maybe better called the Good Samaritan Fund. But it's meant to be, how do we care for our neighbor? How do we care for those around us? And so this reminder today for us is to think about how can we reach out even as we are separate? How can we love those around us and be good to those that need our help? And maybe that means staying in our place, wearing a mask, lowering the curve. But I think it also can mean doing lots of other things. And I'll let you think about how and who you can help today. how you can bring a little bit of God's love to that person today. And so as we start our day, as we move into our day, I just hope that we all hear this message about God calling us to love our neighbor just as we've been first loved by God, so that that love may continue to grow and to flourish, so that so many people will know the goodness of what God has called us all to be about. As we move into our day, I wish you blessings and goodness and love and light and joy wherever you are. That God's grace of health and peace may be yours. God's blessings today and always. Have a good day.